Beyond the beauty of the fall in Pennsylvania, beyond the calm and the quiet of a place called Harmony, is this a nation on the brink? Is the great American experiment faltering? Are these United States slowly, or maybe quite quickly, ripping themselves apart? They call Pennsylvania the Keystone State, the place where the American Constitution was signed. It keeps drawing me back.
We have Mark here from Sky News.
In 2016, I watched as it shook the nation, swinging to Trump, delivering him the White House.
Anybody that's going for Trump, please raise your hand.
4 years later, it edged back. Biden's birth state was blue again. But that's when it all started.
Wow, what a beautiful day. Thank you.
From the unlikely setting of a car park in a Philadelphia landscaping business, Donald Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani.
That they were uniformly deprived of their right to inspect any single part of the mail-in ballots.
He was setting the stage for a con which would in time consume the country. From then on, the former president repeated it over and over. 2 years on, the midterm elections will set the nation's course.
Knock, knock.
But to what extent are they framed by evidence-free claims of election fraud?
Cindy. Yes, hi.
Local Republican campaigner Cindy Hildebrand has invited me to meet a group of friends at their local party HQ. Of course, policies dominate the chat.
They're out to lunch with the border, with drugs, with crime, with inflation.
Their values on abortion, drugs, guns, the economy are conservative.
I don't even talk to Democrats trying to convince them to change their vote, because it's like talking to a wall.
But I wanted to know about the more fundamental question.
So how many of you here believe that Donald Trump should have won or did win the last election?
Absolutely did win.
You all think the election was stolen by Biden?
I think there is a overwhelming evidence that the 2020 election was at least tampered with, if not outright stolen. And that has caused a permanent divide that's actually helped push the sides apart.
No, I'm telling you for sure that we know that there were enough irregularities to change some results across counties. And let's not forget that our state in Pennsylvania has been controlled by a governor who's a Democrat, an attorney general who's a Democrat, and Pennsylvania Supreme Court justices who've been placed by Democrats for the last decade.
So you think they're corrupt and they're lying?
Well, certainly. I mean, we've seen that.
Here's the problem. They believe they're failing to get their way on legitimate conservative policies, not because a majority might disagree with them, but because they think a minority stole the election from them. And they're not alone. This isn't a fringe view. In a Republican Party still dominated by Donald Trump, polls suggest 70% believe he won. They dismiss recounts, audits, court cases across the land. Even Trump's own Attorney General with this.
I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bull.
He became the enemy rather than the defender of truth. If it's the views of the younger generation which matter, then these two activists, both 20, hardly give hope. Zach and Corey call themselves the Patriots, and they're standing for office in their local Republican youth group. It should be encouraging that they're so engaged, but listen to their predictions.
America's at stake. If we lose it, our country's going to hell.
I think it's a civil war. I truly do.
Really?
Yes, I think that's the only thing that's gonna bring America back together after this election if we lose.
That's an extraordinary, frightening prediction.
It is. I mean, but look back to back in the old days. That seemed to fix it the first time. So.
It's not what you want.
It's not what I want at all. But I mean, we're out of options. We're losing. I mean, we're going to lose the entire country if something's not done about it.
Better make! Better make!
Down the road, on the other side of the divide, the Democrats are out in force for their local candidate for the Senate in Washington. Here, they believe the doubt sown into the fabric of American society threatens everything.
There's lots of talk about the threat to democracy in America. Do you think that's overstated, or do you think genuinely there is a threat?
I think it might be understated. I think there's a genuine threat to democracy in this country, and it really scares the hell out of me.
Why?
I don't want to end up like what we've seen in Europe in the past. You know, if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. And we need to uphold democracy to keep going.
I'm very concerned.
More concerned than you were just a couple of years ago?
Absolutely. It is so polarized, and our last president did so much to tear this country apart. We have got to get it back together.
You know, reflecting on all the conversations here, it is kind of jolting. There is so much going on, so many different issues, a growing division, no doubt, and absolutely no trust between the two sides. There's anger, for sure, but I felt fear among people too, a real sense that they don't know what comes next, and they don't know how they themselves would react to it.
My final stop is to meet a man I last saw 2 years ago. In those frenetic days after the 2020 election in Philadelphia, Al Schmidt was the Republican election commissioner, telling anyone who would listen that his party didn't win. There was no fraud. Trump lost.
Counting votes cast on or before Election Day by eligible voters is not cheating. It's democracy.
For that, he received death threats. His family, too. Trump singled him out in a tweet. So what are his reflections now?
We've hardly made a dent since 2020 in changing people's minds, and it's not like something has come out since then that would add any evidence to this paranoid fantasy of a stolen election.
Why do you think you haven't made a dent?
I don't know. And I don't know that it's a question that I'm in a position to answer. I think there's something deeper going on. Like, for example, is this embrace in election denial because you have a significant number of people who really aren't okay with democracy? They're really not okay with the fact that the winner should be who the majority of voters selected.
Today's America is siloed, in echo chambers. So many consume wildly partisan cable news. They believe social media. They dismiss factual reporting. Conspiracy theories spread faster than truth. Humility, decency, respect. Values that are harder and harder to find. Mark Stone, Sky News, in Pennsylvania.